Hey everybody, Parks Owsley here with Inven Global, and I'm joined by Kubz, the Academy coach for not Optic. It's Immortals now. Welcome to the new team. And I'm actually, by the way, congrats on having a team. I heard for a little while there, I went to the Button Mash event, and everyone was like sick, dead in bed. But it looked like today they're finally alive. So how's it going over there for you guys?
Yeah, guess one of the guys, so Gate, our support, came in one day. He had a bit of a throat issue. And it happened last year, sore throat, coughing, but it was okay. So we didn't think it was anything bad. The next day, my entire team could not get out of bed. And so it was a pretty rough week heading into week one. But we recovered. We got to play yesterday and we won. So that was pretty fun. But definitely scared for a week that I'm going to get something too. But I was the only one who avoided it. So I got pretty lucky.
So you could say he is gatekeeping your team. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Moving on, straight past the sickness. So Academy, you were with Academy last year with Optic, kind of coming back from EU, which we'll talk about later because I have some EU and A questions for you. But you were in Academy. You had a lot of Academy guys go up to LCS, which was cool to see. Because not many teams were able to do that. Cloud9 obviously has done that a lot in the past, but you were kind of the other one doing that. So I want to ask about that. I want to ask about your style, because I think looking as an outsider, at least, there are some picks that you guys have. They're a little bit odd that I want to ask about. But yeah, I mean, first, what is it like being in NA Academy? We just had a big expansion. Do you feel like obviously you've just had one game, but last year, there was not much focus. This year, it seems like very Academy is a big deal. How are you feeling about all of that?
I'm happy with the direction Academy is going. I think it's hard to be invested because it's not pro play for a viewer, right? But this is where it starts. And we always complain, oh, there's no NA talent. Why are they recycling players, or why are they importing? Well, I mean, guys, we need time and we need people to be able to build careers, and we need some interest so that every team cares more. I'm really fortunate in my position. When I came back to NA, my org and my team cares about Academy. And I mean, it's been proven when my players are good enough, they go up and they win, right? They don't just take the easy games. We went up and we won multiple times. So to have that in the back of my mind, it's super motivating because that's what matters, right? And so I think a lot of people get confused because winning Academy is not important. No one remembers who won Academy last split or spring or 2 years ago. No one remembers or cares. What matters is what players progress and what players can develop and move up. And with that focus, with more eyes on players, that also lets new viewers follow those players' career progression, whether it's a player who's been around for 5 years and is just now getting good, or a fresh rookie. There are options there, and I think following these players early on and seeing their grassroots is something that can make you feel more connected as they do progress, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. So explain then kind of a little bit more of the intricacies that you're kind of hinting at, because you're picking like Dardoch played like Pyke jungle or something last year,
Yeah.
Something like that, which is that's like a G2 thing. And I know you're from EU, but like what is that? And I know that you just kind of have like the team itself has a lot more kind of troll picks or int picks that we would see, at least for LCS. And I know Academy is different, but what is the mindset around that?
I mean, you play LCS to win, and you play to win in your region, right? So historically in North America, you pick the team fight, you 5-man mid at 25 minutes, and you coin flip the game. It's not a meme, it's just the truth. Go watch the last 6 years, right? I don't like that because it stifles creativity. And with the direction League is going, we're starting here in NA to be a little more creative, and we're kind of keeping up to speed now, whereas before we're always just copying people. But the players coming up, or the players who have been in Academy for a long time, they've not always had that option to be creative and flesh out their thoughts fully. So if I cared about winning Academy, then maybe you'd see the first pick Sejuani every game like North American teams have done for years, right? But if a player has an idea and a logic behind it, why not test it in Academy? Because then that player gets more insight. We tested in scrims. They can see why it was a good or bad read. And then if it looks good, why would we not play something that looks good? The game isn't I don't believe like the meta defines what you play. You play what you're good at. You don't conform to what other people want. If you conform, you're never going to be the best. So you play to your strengths, and being creative and having champions and picks that you like that no one else likes. Like, yeah, okay, Pyke jungle last year, probably a toughie, but it had a reason behind it. And so is it troll? No, there's always reasons behind it. And if you win as a coach, it's a great creative draft. And if I lose, of course it's a bad draft. That's how it works. So I guess let's just see if we win or lose, and then we can decide if it's a good or bad draft.
All right. That's fair. That one, however, at least by that statement, was pretty bad, unfortunately. But I mean, it's nice having kind of a little bit more of your reasoning behind that, because I think, from the outside, it's a little weird. Be like, oh, this is Dardoch. He's a great jungler. Why is he playing Pyke?
Well, the logic usually for people is like, well, if he's so great, why doesn't he just play what is meta and just dominate? And of course, that is always an option. It's not as if we just don't play what's meta. Of course, you consider what's strongest, but there's some situations where either the champion looks good in the game, or it's just a perfect matchup, and you gotta try. Being scared and playing safe will never get you further than the LCS and maybe a career of 5 years where you will get kicked out of groups over and over again, which is, it happens every year, right? So maybe the next generation has more creativity. Maybe the next generation has bold ideas. And in Academy, since there's less pressure, they have more freedom, and when they go to LCS and there is pressure, they'll still retain some of that creativity, hopefully. That's kind of the goal.
Well, I like that. I can get behind that. And I guess you're going to continue doing that this year with the squad?
Do you even need to ask that?
No, I don't. Look out for some great picks coming up soon. Watch the Kubz Academy games, which is cool now. So I do want to circle back to that. We now have Academy Rush. We have, which I think is going to get better. It was very interesting to watch. It was a little bit tough, but overall, like a very interesting idea. And then we have stage games, and we have Monday games.
A lot of stage games.
One a week, every week. So you mentioned it earlier, but what is that going to do for at least the relevance of Academy and maybe the development of these players?
Definitely a huge emphasis on development with more stage games. I think a lot of people don't realize just how different the stage games are to the online games. You can definitely be we use the term, he's so online, right? Because that player will never be that confident on a stage. And sure enough, the player goes to stage, AFK farms, loses, doesn't do anything, and is scared. But when you play more stage games, maybe you learn to be more comfortable, and there's not this adjustment period coming in. And it is a lot different. You can't hear anything because of the white noise. You can hear yourself through the mic. You look up and there's just like hundreds of people there, and there's all these lights coming down. It can jar players who are not experienced, right? So by playing more stage games, I think it makes it easier if players get good enough in Academy to pull them up and not have this question of, well, will they choke on stage? Because you'll have some type of sample size, and it might make that a bit easier.
Yeah, and the one kind of concern I have about it is the like spreading out of the schedule, because last year, you play this day or this day, or I mean, I guess both. You play day one and you play day two,
And that's it.
and now it's you play day one, or you play day one and then you play either 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah.
And so I know this week I think you are Friday, Monday.
Yeah.
So you have like this weird break in between, and then next week you're like Friday, Saturday. And so how is that affecting the team? Is it harder for scheduling? Does it not really matter?
I think it's just part of the job. I think League has fortunately progressed past, we're playing 6 hours, Saturday, Sunday, watch LCS from start to finish. I think we've reached a point where that's just not reasonable for a viewer. And so by spreading the schedule out, that also gives us more Academy games on stage. It kind of covers both. And I know people don't like change, and I know that it can create a weird schedule. Like, for example, today and tomorrow, what are we supposed to do, right? So today we came to LCS to support the main team. Tomorrow we scrim. Life goes on. The off day will change based on the schedule. But honestly, it's part of the job. And if people complain about that, I think it's part of the job. Like, grow up and accept it. Like, what else are we going to do, right? And I like it personally because more spread out, a little more time, less of grind 5 days straight, play your 2 games. Maybe you lose, but then you have to keep grinding. Now you have a little more time to decide what days you want to go hard, what days you want to go light. It gives you options.
That's cool to hear. Because yeah, that was my one concern. I'm glad to see at least all the pros outweigh the little con there.
At least from my perspective, I'm sure there's a lot of players in this region who very much don't like the schedule change for their lives, right? And I get that, but by spreading it out more, it feels better to watch, even from a professional POV. I don't have to watch 6 games of LCS on a Saturday night to like stay up. I can just watch the games that happen today, tomorrow, Monday. Easier.
Well, it's harder for me too. So I'm in the complaining group, but that's fine. Today I was literally all day. I was like, "Where's EG? Where's EG? Where is he? Oh, they're not here. Okay. Where is he? Oh, they're not here. Okay." Because the tent was here. I mean, like, it's
you
the
got
first
baited.
Day. Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, cool, it's EG." Like, big new team. They're not here. So
new old team.
It was a little anticlimactic new old team along with Immortals, but excited to see them tomorrow and Monday. Anyway, so I wanna go back to NA versus EU then. Because you're from EU. I've talked about it, just a second ago.
I am from Canada. I am North American, but I am an EU coach. Yeah. I am not a product of this region. I agree. Very much.
And the drafts should tell you all of that. But I know you have been critical online of NA and NA mindset and praising EU, just kind of talking about like the differences there and here, but not always going into specifics, which makes sense because like no one on Twitter really cares. But now I'm a journalist, so I'm asking for specifics. What is it about NA that you're so down on? And like what is it about EU that's getting them to the finals to get crushed, but getting them to the finals at Worlds every year?
Well, at least they make it to the finals. What happened when C9 walked into Fnatic, right?
This guy, he's EU.
Honestly, my biggest gripe has always just been culture. The one thing for me personally, I like to grind. I think most people who've worked with me know like 16, 17 hours a day I work. Mm-hmm. I understand work-life balance is important, and for different people it's different. Like for me, I don't want to break. I want to keep going because if you want to be the best at something, you have to do more than what is expected, right? In Europe, a lot of people share that mindset. And so a lot of times it went from scrims are done, people are individually working more, to why don't we just work more, guys? Or why don't we talk more or do these things? But a lot of the time historically in NA, they just play the games and they go home. And they can't play solo queue because it's very difficult with all those factors here. So they're just getting less quality games. And I think that's a huge one. I think the other one is just from a professional player standpoint, some of the ability to give and receive feedback and criticism is a lot different here. I think players here are very opinionated. A lot of the time they're wrong, for what it's worth. Like it's very short-sighted in NA, but they're so stubborn. And that makes it difficult to give feedback or come to a conclusion at a reasonable time, in a reasonable time, sorry. And the final thing is just, I think a lot of times with domestic players especially, obviously there's a lot of imports here. That's just a part of the league, right? Like it's not a big deal.
We're half and half now.
It's okay. There was these gap years after Licorice. After the C9 boys came up, people always say, let's get new NA talent. There is no one who has stood out significantly in the past 3 years to warrant that opportunity. And a lot of the time, we don't talk about the accountability of there's just players who aren't good enough. And if you want to be good enough to go pro and stand out, then you'll get your shot, right? Like we have scouting grounds. Whether it's perfect or not, it's great exposure. It's such an intimate environment to be around every team. We get to talk to all of these guys, right? And you can go from scouting grounds, you can go academy, you can go LCS. Like there's a straight route on how to do it. So if you want to do it, instead of complaining, just get good. It's not hard, man. Climb the goddamn... I don't know if I can say that, but climb the ladder, get your mechanics up, go to scouting grounds, pop off, and work hard. I don't think it's as hard as people say. And maybe that's like a simple answer to a complicated question. But how come in EU every year? Yeah, okay, more players. But there's so many instances of just one superstar every year just keeps coming up. And yes, more players makes that easier. But to tell me the player base in NA doesn't have that ability, there's a lot of very talented players who if they just worked a little harder, yeah, they'd have that chance. So I think those factors are the big ones. And stylistically, I really disliked back in the day the farm to 50 minutes and ARAM mid.
That was your style, though.
We were bad on complexity. We did that out of necessity to not get relegated, or at least try. I never wanted games to go that long because I got stressed. There's the video, right? Of man, I have like emotional breakdowns as these games are going like 60 minutes. I love good gameplay and smart decision making. It doesn't mean perfect 1-3-1 macro or any of that. Just making decisions, and I like looking at the setup and the execution. And I think a lot of times that's lost. It's getting better here now. We're seeing a lot more teams trying, but it's just going to take more time. Coming back to NA definitely made me feel better about this region. I'm definitely really happy with the org I'm in, just because what they said was true. If a player was good enough, they used them, right? And I don't think that's going to change. And so I'm happy where I'm at in this region. I'm hopeful that this year we can start to change the mindset and we don't see first pick Sejuani, let's take Israel Braum 2-3, let's take a Maokai or Orin in 4, and let's pick an Ori in 5. I want to see more creativity, and we're starting to, so it's good.
Well, there you go. It all started here. The Pyke jungle, more creativity is on its way.
We played Pyke in every role last year. We had 4 wins, by the way.
You're from EU. You're G2.
Nah. The game isn't one, meta is meta, but if the champion just wins in a counter matchup, why would I not pick it? I don't need, if, does it win? Yes, no. If yes, why are we not considering this option, right? That's all. It's really just that simple. My thought process is not more than that.
Well, there you go. And then I had one other question for you, and we're kind of running out of time.
Yeah.
But we talked about NA versus EU, but NA specifically has received a lot of crutches, I think, this offseason. We have the new playoff thing, the fact that championship points aren't here any longer. Everything kind of is pointing us towards let's not fail at Worlds.
We've gone backwards to the Season 4 format, right?
We have double elimination now, which we've been asking for, which is great. However, it does seem like all of these are kind of okay, NA didn't make it. Let's do something more. Okay, NA didn't make it. Let's give them something else. They added import slots for Academy. I know we're talking about we need to grow more, but instead of growing more, organically, it's let's see if we can import more people.
Well, okay, that one isn't fair. Okay. That one isn't fair because everyone's let me get this fresh NA. There is no fresh NA talent. There's no one to pick up that will the game will be unplayable if these players play in Academy. They're just not that good mechanically. They will lose the lane. The game will not be playable for anyone else. No, you're not going to play 18 games and let this guy learn to play the lane matchup. Man, get good hands and then we'll pick you up and teach you the rest. That should be how this works. And that's how it works in EU, right? But in terms of the LCS crutches, look, it is what it is, man. Top 3 teams go to Worlds at summer. I think historically in NA, there have been a lot of cases of a spring team getting in on championship points and they fell off a cliff for various circumstances, right? Regionally, I know other regions kept their formats and LCS has this again. I'm open to seeing how it goes. Obviously, the performance at Worlds would have had some type of impact, but I wouldn't say it's a bad thing necessarily. Maybe it's the best thing because you will get NA's best 3 teams, and maybe, just maybe, that's really a good, you're not, maybe a team does well then, right? That you didn't expect. Because we know the big ones we expect, right? But those third teams that go in sometimes, there's always that one that you're is that really the best team we could send? And so I think having the 3 best teams at that point of the year going, it makes a little bit better shot for NA, but it's not as if this means it's a free world championship. They're still going to have to go compete. So I say let's see how it goes and reassess in maybe a year or 2. But I'm curious to see if the Season 4 format works because, that's the last time NA did better than EU at Worlds. That was also the last time I was a coach of an LCS team. So all I'm saying is if a team figures that out, maybe we have a chance this year.
Really coming around.
IMT, baby. We got this. Let's go.
Oh, my God. Well, thank you. That's it. We don't have any more time.
Yeah.
But thank you for the great headline. Just if we put these guys on a team, they're going to be terrible. I'm going to use that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Love you guys.
Thank you so much, Kubz.